With Rob Lewis, Brent Hubbs, Volquest.com, it's time for the Exterior Home Solutions Fast Break as Tennessee falls at North Carolina. And Rob, uh, what a tough day for Tennessee. I mean, you scored 92 points. You're supposed to win a basketball game, and we'll talk about offense and some of that in a minute. But I mean, the story of this game for me is Tennessee just failed to show defensively.
Oh, and the first 20 minutes, especially. I mean, second half was a different story, but it was too late. I mean, they weren't ready to play. There's nothing. I mean, there's no silver linings in this. I mean, they got whipped in the first half, and Carolina just took them behind the woodshed. And there's not really a lot to add to it other than Tennessee scored 56 points or shot 56%, scored 92 points, and got whipped. And I did not have that on my bingo card.
No.
Sure.
No, I don't think anybody did. Let's address the other storyline of this game is the injury to Dalton Connect with a minute and 39 to play. I know you guys did not have a great vantage point from your media seating there. On TV, it did not look like a pretty ankle sprain at all. Any thought process or anything out of the Tennessee camp post game?
Oh, Rick's not a doctor, but he was not. I mean, he used the phrase, he stepped on somebody's foot, rolled it. I mean, doesn't, nothing about the severity or, prognosis on what the timetable might be. But the head coach's take was that it was a sprain. And so, how severe, how long he's going to be out, how much time he misses, we won't know that for, probably 2 or 3 days, if maybe not until Monday. But it wasn't like the head coach came in and, not like after Zakai got hurt last year or anything like that. It was, I don't want to say he was unconcerned, but it didn't act like it was, something that was going to cast a shadow over the season.
Well, he's got other concerns too with the team defensively. To me, I look at them. They had a hard time keeping the ball in front of them on the perimeter, and then they're struggling in post defense. What's the step? Where does this team got to go defensively to get the edge back? Now they played better defense, obviously, all year long. Today was really bad. You're probably not going to do that many times, but they didn't have an edge about them defensively. How do they get that back?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think not having Tobe for starters was a problem, and then Jonas gets in foul trouble, so immediately that hurts you in the post. I mean, you're on the road at Carolina, and you're relying on two freshmen, and Cade Phillips and JP Estrella to come in and play big minutes, and that's a tough ask for both of those kids. But I mean, Hubbard, to your point about keeping the ball in front of you, I mean, Tennessee fans are going to look at the foul shots today and think that North Carolina got a great whistle. I didn't really feel that way. I mean, they got to the basket. I mean, they put it in the floor. They got to the paint. I mean, Tennessee, Dalton Connect gets to the line 8 times. I mean, who else on Tennessee's team is putting it on the floor and getting in there and forcing issues and drawing contact? So, I mean, I guess your post defense is a problem. The free throw shooting is a problem. But to me, that just kind of highlights how Tennessee doesn't have that themselves, and they for sure don't have it when Tobe is out. But that's Coach Barnes wasn't upset about the whistle tonight at all. He was upset about what you're talking about, the way his guys defended, and the way they allowed straight line drives, especially in the first half. That was Rick's biggest thing from his post game, was just how often he kept coming back to those first 20 minutes, and how unprepared his team was. I mean, he took it on the chin. He's like, I don't know, obviously Hubert Davis did a better job than I did tonight. Said some version of that several different points, but I was taken aback by the effort in the first half over. And we've seen, I mean, when this team is in a 20-point hole at halftime, usually it's because they can't throw it in the ocean. Not usually. I mean, you're not going to be in a 20-point hole very often, but if they are, it's because they were just ice cold offensively. And that wasn't the case tonight, which was just really mind-boggling to see. How soft. They were soft defensively, which you never ever say that about a Tennessee team.
Yeah, they certainly were, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That has to get fixed because they cannot. This team's not going to win a lot of games if they're giving up 85 to 100 points a night. That's just not how you're going to play basketball and win. So they have to get that edge back. The other question I have too is what's the situation with Santiago Vescovi right now? I mean, 15 minutes?
14 minutes.
I mean, he's set for basically the entire second half until the last minute and a half of the game. He seems in a little bit of a disconnect, or it seems like a big disconnect tonight. He had the big game against Kansas, but otherwise he's not been much of a factor. What do you think is going on with that deal? Was that a message sending deal tonight from the head coach? Was there an illness? Was there something else involved?
It was, I mean, judging by the head coach's comments post game, it was a message. And I mean, he didn't mince any words. I mean, so he was asked about Santiago's minutes, and he said consistency. I got to know what I'm going to get from him. You know, I can't. And Rick threw it out there. He's like, you know, we can't score 92 points in a game and have him score 0, which is what happened tonight. I mean, and this is one game after, you know, he scored 21 against Kansas. And I'm not, and Rick's not looking for him to score 21 every night, but he can't have 21 and 0. I'm sure you've had coaches say this to you before. I know I have. They hate a, more than anything, they hate a kid that is an A one night and a D the next. They'd rather have a B- guy if they know they're going to get a B- every night out. And the head coach was not happy with Santiago, and that's a departure because usually, you know, I don't want to say he's the teacher's pet, but I mean that's a guy. However, I mean you talk to the head coach. I mean he respects his grit. He respects how hard he works, and that none of that was there tonight. I mean that's gonna be addressed between the two of them, and that's gonna. I don't want to say I don't make too much of it, but that's a problem that those two are going to solve together.
Yeah, and it's a puzzle that seems to be missing a piece or two right now. So we'll see what that looks like moving forward. This team's got a little bit of a break here before they play basketball again. Probably not the best thing for this team.
I would not want to practice 5 straight days with this guy.
But where do they go from here? I mean, listen. You wrote about it in 4 takes. They have missed opportunities for resume wins. These losses hurt you in the seeding. Potentially down the road. It is still a marathon of a basketball season. All is not lost. But where do you think this team needs to take a step first and foremost moving forward?
Well, I don't want to just echo Rick's comments, but I mean, he's got to find out what he's going to get from guys night in and night out. And when you're talking about a 5th-year guy like Santiago, and Josiah played great tonight, but I mean, he also was nowhere to be found against, you know, Kansas and Purdue, you know, in 2 games. So, you know, he's not been consistent either. The one guy I would say has been consistent right now is probably Connect. And, you know, he's new to your program. And I would say, you know, hey, Jonas, you know, for his part has been pretty steady. But, I mean, I think Rick has got to get to just know what he's going to get. I don't think roles are really established. And we've talked about it on this in here before. I think Connect is making everybody adjust around him. I mean, because you bring in new kids all the time and blend them into your program. You don't often bring in a new kid who's the best player in your program, and everybody else has to adjust. Even guys, you know, who like Zakai and Josiah and Santiago, they've got to adjust because it's pretty clear who the alpha dog is. And, you know, nobody else on this team is capable of rolling in to the Dean Dome and putting up 37.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see that happen. I mean, he was unbelievable on the offensive end. I know he had some turnovers early, which was a problem, but I mean, he was the only reason Tennessee was in the basketball game. So
13 of 17.
Yeah,
that's strong.
That's a night in the gym for sure. Lots to work on for Tennessee. Disappointment in the way that they played tonight. A valiant effort in the second half, but certainly you don't get down 20.
And I just want to disappointment reminded me of it. That's my biggest takeaway from talking to Coach Barnes. Mad, pissed off about tonight, disappointed, but long term, whenever his way to say this, not discouraged. And he's like, I know we're a good basketball team. I know we are, but you know we've got to get better. And for him, I mean, that's a guy that can be pretty down, you know, after a loss. For him to still be able to take a positive long-term view, you know, I think that's significant because he's not a guy that, in my experience, ever thinks his team is better than they are. He's usually got a pretty good handle.
Yeah, well, we'll see where this team goes. 5 days of practices before they get back to the court in Thompson Bowling Arena. But again, a missed opportunity after just a really no-show first half in Chapel Hill. And that's 3 straight losses for Tennessee closing out the month of November. That's going to do it for this edition of the Exteriors Home Solutions Fast Break. He is Rob Lewis. I'm Brent Hubbs. Have a great night, everybody.
Your roof, it's the most important protection against nature for your home or your business. That's why I trust the experts at Exterior Home Solutions.